he recognizes the fact that God is going before him and the battle's already done. He don't quite know how, but he knows God's going to meet him there and it's going to be finished. All right? So Saul clothed David with his armor, and he put a bronze helmet on his head. He also clothed him with a coat of mail. For whoever doesn't know what mail is, it's that real fine links, so a sword can't go through it. David fastened his sword to his armor and tried to walk, for he had not tested them. And David said to Saul, I cannot walk with these, for I have not tested them. So David took them off. A lot of times you're going to come into situations where you're going to be taking up the mantle of somebody else or trying to do someone else's job. And your pride is going to take you to a point where you're going to try to do it in their mantle. See, David couldn't wear King Saul's armor. He couldn't do it the way King Saul was doing it. He had to do it with the gifts that God gave him. You know what I'm saying? So he said, no, I can't do this with your armor. This isn't what God gave me to do it with. He does it with a sling and 5 stones. That's the gift that God gave him. That's what he smote the bear and lion with when he was out in the field tending the sheep. That's the gift that God created for him. And in an era of humility, David recognized, well, I can't do it his way. And it doesn't have to do with who's better or who's worse. It's just that this is what God gifted you in, and this is what God gifted him in. And it's not good for you to try to pick up somebody else's gift and run with it, in a prideful manner, right? Like I said, there's many facets of pride, and there's many facets of humility, all right? And it's our job to recognize them when we run across them.
Did you guys get that? Because that's really, really
very, very important.
What Matt is saying there. Did you understand that?
It's like trying to walk in somebody else's shoes.
Exactly. Perfect. Okay, I just want, because that is like, I started and that hit me, and I'm so glad he said it, because if he didn't, I was going to say, Matt, can I just say something? Because it's very important. You cannot walk in somebody else's shoes unless the Lord tells you to do that, okay? But you can't. God anoints you. He gives you guys your own giftings. And like Daniel proved, he did it in God's strength, not in the way somebody else did.
Yeah. I mean, you hear the word humility, but you don't know, and sometimes people just don't think of the many different ways that humility is imposed in something. I mean, humility could be asking forgiveness. Humility could be doing a job that you never get seen or heard behind the scenes, but it's so important. Humility could be yielding to someone else, right? Humility could be embarrassing, like saying I'm wrong. There's so many different facets to humility. And the thing is, what I'm going to show you in a minute is the difference that pride does opposed to humility, and the intent of both of them coming into even exist, all right? Because there's definitely a reason for both of them existing, all right? So let me see. Where was I? Yeah, 38 to 47. So I read 38 through 40, through 39. I'm going to pick up on 40. Then he took his staff in his hand, and he chose for himself 5 smooth stones. Now this is where David, like I was saying, he recognized that he could not walk in the armor of Saul, so he's going to do what God gifted him to do. All right, so he picked up 5 smooth stones from the brook, and he put them in a shepherd's bag, in a pouch which he had. And his sling was in his hand, and he drew near to the Philistine. So the Philistine came and began drawing near to David. Now picture, this guy's 12 feet tall. His armor weighs 125 pounds. his sword is probably as tall as David's whole body. You know, and David's here with a little sling and 5 stones, but he knows beyond a doubt that God's going to deliver him. God's going to do it. All right? So the Philistine said to David, I am a dog that you come to me with sticks. And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. And then the Philistine said to David, come to me, and I will give your flesh to the birds of the air and the beasts of the field. And then David said to the Philistine, you come to me with a sword, with a spear, and with a javelin. And this is it right here. But I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts. Okay? The God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. And this day the Lord will deliver you into my hand, and I will strike you and take your head from you. And this day I will give the carcasses of your camp and the Philistines to the birds of the air and the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel, and that all this assembly shall know that the Lord does not save with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands this day. How was humility exercised in these last couple of verses by David? Isaiah.
He's saying that the Lord will give him the strength to defeat him.
Exactly. Exactly.
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt. And he gives the Lord all the glory.
And he's
He does.
not being pompous, he's being, he knows his God.
Remember? Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Go
that's
ahead.
okay, I just wanted to let
He's
them
not
know
for
that,
that
because he
pride.
sounds,
Right.
if you didn't know, you would think like, listen to this guy, he sounds so pompous, and all of you here will know that I am, but
You
notice
remember when
it's
we
in
were teaching
confidence that he said that.
about Saul, the first time that Nathan won the battle underneath Saul, and Saul went in and said, I have won this battle. You see the difference? He took ownership and started, he started taking ownership and directed his own resources for everything that he was supposed to be giving God the glory for and letting God do it for him. You know?
Who was he saying it with pride that when he was saying it with confidence that
Right.
God has his back?
There's nothing wrong with
Exactly.
having confidence,
Right.
as long as you have humility in it. Okay? And that's very, very important. You have to be confident. God gives us a spirit of confidence. You know, the devil gives us a spirit of pride. Okay? All right. So we're going to go to 18. I just want to breeze through this because this is the transition where Saul is taken out of power, David is put in power. And then next week we're going to continue and we're going to see the humility in David. Because David was a great king, but David made a lot of mistakes. He really did. But it was because of his heart. It was because of his heart that God continued to bless him and his kingdom. And it was all in humility. All right, so let's turn to 18. And I just want to carry Saul's pride through the beginning of David's teaching because I want you to see the contrast between the two. All right, we're going to go to 18 and we're going to read verses 5 through 9. Okay, this is after David smites Goliath, and this is a resentment that King Saul has towards David, even though David did everybody a huge favor, you know, and ended up delivering the army of God out of the Philistines' hands. King Saul did not give David any credit or just acknowledge him for being obedient and having, you know, been man enough to have faith in God to be delivered. Instead, he gets jealous, right? And let's see. Brent, read nice and loud. Read verse 5 through 9.
Whatever Saul sent to him to do, David did it so successfully that Saul gave him a